Reece, thank you for joining. This is Cosmos Voice number 10. Thank you for being with us. Like a couple of weeks ago, I think we had Ethan Frey also in this call. So we tackled a little bit, about layer labs and waves as well. But I am glad to see that we have also principal software engineer now with us, maybe to go a little bit deeper and understand better, the entire system and what are your objectives actually. But before we come to that, Reece, tell us, of course, a little bit about you as always, just to set the background, tell your story, how you get into crypto. It's fascinating to hear how people, are coming into the space and what is motivating them. So please.
Yeah, so I started running Minecraft servers back in the day before I was out of college. And I would run these things, and we actually became the 7th largest in the world at one point. So like quite large scale, it was just me as the developer team. And one of the biggest problems that we ran into very quickly was payment rails, where we were required to use PayPal because that's just the processor. Like they didn't have support for Stripe at the time. And due to me being underage, PayPal actually shut down my entire business. Despite me having plenty of income, paying all of the fees to them, all of that, PayPal shut it down and then locked my funds for over 3 years. And so I had a majority of my net worth stuck in this PayPal account. And it was pretty just like kind of on, like just you get put into a state of awe looking at, I can't run my business now. I've lost, all of the income. So that had to shut down, had to like forward funds through other friends and things. And then number 2, it's like, this isn't a sustainable business. What else is out there? And so at this time, I looked into things like Bitcoin, like into Ethereum, and just became interested in, oh, wait, there's no one that can really shut me down here. I could take payments, even for like legitimate things or illegitimate, and I can like have no party stop that. So that was super interesting to me. So I continued to just kind of like look into it. I bought a little bit. That's the time I like fell into, this was like 2017 times. This is pre-bubble. And on everything. And so I was very interested in what does this actually look like? So I continued to just kind of watch it from the sidelines. And then I really started to use it more whenever the whole like Roulette thing came out with off shambling, like, great, I can like do something with this. Like, it's not just, wait, there's a theoretical of this. It's like, no, you can actually use this. So that's when I like found like this really is like a real payment rails here. And then I found my way into Cosmos whenever a Minecraft server wanted to add blockchain support. And I was like, great, I understand the Minecraft side. What does that look like on the crypto side? Great, here's my intro into this. And so I joined Cosmos then, that was 2021, built up the Craft Economy project. We got everything ready to go, ready for launch. And then we were shut down by Microsoft a week before we were ready to go to mainnet. So then I learned again, not only can you have to do the payment rails, but you also need to control the entire stack. And so I became really a open source maximalist. I want things to be open source. I want you to create things and being able to do that. And so I've been continuing through my time at Strangelove, my time at Juno, and then also now my time here at Layer.
Yeah, this is an incredible story. One of those stories about attention and pressure that the current system is imposing into into people and into new businesses that wants to flourish. So it's very painful, and believe me, I empathize a lot with what you are saying. Probably my alias, a free man, has something to do with what you are describing. And I also feel, that type of inconveniences all around, and it looks like we people, we need to kind of find a way how to navigate in between of all these scenarios. Yeah, so look, just to start this, maybe continuing this line of thoughts, sorry, is that, do you think it is, all these struggles that we have, is it something that it will get better with the time. And let me give you a little tip, from kind of my perspective. If I look at this with the horizon of, let's say, the last 6 years, we still remember when even having Bitcoin was a trouble. It's like, even someone who even manipulated Bitcoin was immediately associated with something illegitimate. And it was very painful, for all of us. But as, the industry is evolving, some of those, arbitrary and definitely stupid approaches and decisions were kind of relaxed. We are falling into a next stage of troubles. So I feel like someone is putting the troubles in front of us, but then the common sense at some point is taking a driving seat, and then things are getting better. So what is your perspective on this, in this space of, let me call it capital control, but also identity control? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It shows even more reason why what we're doing actually matters is because of these issues that continue to pop up. So seeing as, for example, with the craft economy, just these other examples where you control one part of the stack, but the part that you don't control, someone else has the control over. This is the whole point of having these decentralized models. And really, a lot, I know that a lot of the time people will just say, hey, we're early, hey, there's excuses for this, but we're actually to the point now that we're no longer early, and we're able to begin building up these full systems. The problem is it's hard to find developers that have also run into these problems. Most developers don't run into these problems that we've experienced. And so we have a unique insight into this. So we're a very niche group. But as other developers also realize this, they will slowly pivot over and want to build these kinds of technologies. And I mean, honestly, it's great being able to do the payment rails, but you need to control the entire stack. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of headache. And there's enough tech out there, but it takes a specialized knowledge to know how to plug everything together. And so as we get to where more developers are able to understand the different parts of the stack, be able to lead teams and kind of become founders with applications, that will make it even simpler for us to resolve these problems where, hey, here's this, maybe it's not the most perfect solution, but here's a more perfect solution than what's currently out there today. Here's the downsides of it. How can we fix those downsides? So we constantly need to continue to iterate over time. But until then, we need to continue to iterate as big things come up. Great, we fix that. What's the next thing to fix? And so we're going to have that iterative cycle. But we're getting to the point now that the infrastructure is close to optimal to be able to build up anything that we really want to on top of that.
That's great. And certainly I am hearing a kind of positive mood. So that's very much appreciated for all of us who are in this endeavor and devote their time and their energy into the space. So I understand that Layer Labs, or now I should say Waves, is a little bit like a way to respond as well to that, to make this process lean and making sure that people who are building things on top of this infrastructure will not face those handicaps that you mentioned, at the beginning, like a closing, really like a one centralized player that could close your entire stack and making your business suddenly bankrupt is horrible. Yeah. So how Waves is approaching this, and what is the proposal here, and also let's analyze this in the context of in general all other possibilities that are either existing or under development, right? Like Edan, of course, they were before building Cosmos and other solutions, and so how Waves fits into all these?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I built a lot of different protocols. I think I launched 6 or 7 mainnets last year. There's a couple that are still coming through. They're launching this year out through this. So I've got a lot of experience building up the core infrastructure for people that have money, that have applications and want something out built. And a big problem of that is that it takes a lot of time and specialized knowledge and a lot of lines of code to write something that is like actually relatively simple. Like if I want to grab some data off chain, which seems like a reasonable task, I want to grab something that is in the real world and I want to pull that into chain. I want to do something with it, verify it against multiple different people, and then perform some action. You can think of something like a prediction market, for example, a very simple direct example of this. The problem is that's probably in Cosmos going to be about 10,000 lines of code that you have to write. So you need multiple engineers to be able to do this, or a highly specialized engineer to build this out. There's going to be bugs. There's a lot of context that you need, an understanding of how the system works. And what Waves does is just abstracts all of that from you. We handle all of that on our back end, and we just allow you to pull data in. So, hey, I want to grab data from somewhere, and I want to put it somewhere else. Great, we can do that. You don't even actually require a blockchain. Like if you want to use Waves, you don't even require a blockchain on either side. You could watch a Twitter event and then save that to a database if you wanted to, or you can watch a blockchain event and do that. So we simplify all of the rails for getting real data somewhere else with a verified set. And that's been a big problem of crypto is how do we actually verify it? Well, using Waves on EigenLayer or on some other restaking platform, great. We have the verification now. We can move data between different sources. How do we make that easier and more accessible to people? Because that's the most common app that people want, is how to grab data. I mean, it's a common programming requirement, and we just take that to the next level of giving them a super efficient environment so anyone can run this in a sandbox. That way that only like your code can only touch areas of its code. You can't like go compromise someone else's machine with your code. We need to make sure that we have good security assumptions. And at the end of the day, make the best developer experience for bringing data on chain or doing something with data, some form of execution with that. And that's what Layer Labs helps with through the Waves.
Yeah, it is. I mean, definitely something very appealing to me and to many other real businesses that are trying to leverage a blockchain technology. You always have these a bunch of different inputs from the real world, which needs to get into the contracts. And of course, we need to secure that that information is correct and verified. Otherwise, contract will be polluted and the outcome will be just a scrap. So, these problems in this space, of course, we have a big Chainlink, right, who is trying to solve our life. And of course, being in this space for long, with, different, I would say, components of they stack. They are now obviously, I don't want to say complicating, but making the stack more powerful and with more and more ambitions, maybe I should say. But if I stick only to the Oracle part, something like for people like myself, I'm not necessarily kind of native blockchain, but I understand conceptually from business point of view this necessity for Oracle and how Chainlink is resolving that. So how you'd compare these, like how you compare Waves to that type of service? Do we have a kind of overlap here? Is it something on the Wave side which is kind of unique and is not like a Chainlink, or vice versa?
Yeah. So comparing it directly to Chainlink, Chainlink's real focus is getting prices of assets on chain. I know that they had bigger aspirations, maybe they still do, of doing other kinds of data, but they're very focused on here's a price, we're going to put that on chain with a verified set, and you're going to sign some contextual agreement with us, and we can give you other kinds of data as need be. So like that's great if you want a centralized authority to do it. But what if you actually want to build up your set, where you want to build up something more? Maybe you want some niche bit of data that like you can't pay Chainlink enough to like have them deal with that. You want to build it up yourself. You want to add business logic on top of it for your application. Maybe you're just a single dev, like you don't know anyone from Chainlink. Waves allows you to build that. So you can entirely mock out Chainlink's environment in Waves. You could use Waves to grab data from Chainlink. You can basically create your own Chainlink at a high level is what Waves provides you to, and you control everything about it. Maybe you only care that you have one operator, like you just trust yourself. It's a small app between your friends. Great. You can do that. You can go launch. It'll just cost you gas fees. Maybe you need a large set as you grow where you have something like a big DeFi platform. Great. You can go talk with trusted operators. You can build a proof of authority like set. You can run these. Great. They're going to grab Chainlink based data. They're going to build these other oracles and other data on top of this. So really you get to build and design out the system that fits for you in a completely open source stack. But with Chainlink, you don't get that sort of benefit. You need connections. You need a lot of funds to be able to make sure you can get that. If you launch a new chain, you should be able to just use Waves on it. And with Chainlink, there's a whole integration process. I think you're looking at a 6 to 12 month lead time on something like that. It's not scalable. If you're a large enough team, that's fine. You can go do that. But with Waves, we simplify that drastically. And you're really only going to need to write maybe a couple hundred lines of code to do a more complex oracle than what Chainlink can even give you. You can build an entire application on top of that.
Reece, that's again, very appealing, of course.
Yes.
I am in these interviews, I am very often using my own case of, DAODISEO, where we have a project, real estate tokenization project, and we are facing many of these struggles and questions how to solve these and what technology we should select. And in our case, with Ethan the other day, we were mentioning maybe something like checking the registry of the given country in the given country to confirm with some kind of periodicity or frequency that indeed that registry contain the data of the owners. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The company who is owning it. So the kind of fresh data in this sense. And it was like a good example. Probably, we have more example like that. Now, my curiosity is like how you deal with this, challenge, I think, which always, when you start, you have that this is like a very specific data that you will get. And probably, for some time, until this will scale, not many people will need that necessarily. Maybe in the future, yes. Maybe maybe in some moment you scale that. But definitely to get that niche data, you need some kind of investment at the beginning. So how you deal with that? Because as I am hearing you are suggesting that this in Wave might be much cheaper.
Yes, so it's significantly cheaper. The benefit is you as a developer are able to write in any language you want. TypeScript, Go, Rust. We actually have Python support. That's almost soon. C#, C++. Like you can write in pretty much any popular language. Like that captures 99% of the market, if not even more than that. So developers are able to use a language that is specific to them, that they understand already for how to interact with this data. Then you need some form of data provider. That needs to be, the registry, for example, from the country. Great, you go talk with the state of housing there or something along those lines. They can give you input to that or some form of access that allows you to then grab that data. Then it's just up to the programmer to write a standard program in a language they're familiar with to go do that. So Waves doesn't enforce on you a specific language. Like, Solidity, I can't go query it. Like smart contracts are actually pretty dumb. Solidity can't, make an external request. But I can use Solidity as an input that says, hey, go grab this data from some ID. Waves can pick up that request, runs some standard programming logic, executes that, grabs that registry down, verifies that data, like who actually owns this property. Okay, now go query against the blockchain. Does this user still own that property? If yes, then return back to the user. Yes, this user owns it. If not, go change that registry on chain. And so you can watch that from the user perspective, or you could also watch it from the Web 2 perspective. Hey, give me all registries for these accounts and then save those on chain through Waves. So it's up to you to decide which flow of information do you want. Do you want it to go back and forth? Do you want it to just go in and stop there once the user has a request? But at the end of the day, all it requires is for a standard developer to just write logic that they normally would in any other programming language, like write it on your machine in a language you're comfortable with. You copy paste that over to Waves. Waves is going to handle all the execution for you in the verifiability side. and then we just shove that on chain once we have an output that we decide on. So it's up to you to find where the niche data is. It's up to a developer to write that core logic in any way they see fit for it, and then you just plug those two things together, and then magically you have verifiable on-chain data.
Yeah, amazing, and that sounds again very optimistic, and tell me a little bit more, if possible, like how the trust is built within Waves. So what it makes. Again, I'm seeking a little bit the comparison with Chainlink. Like what makes it that the input that is, let's say, interfaced from whatever service do we have, and put it into Waves, make it 100% reliable data for the chain? What is that magic?
Yeah, so the core trust assumptions you have is, one, let's just say Ethereum. Like, we're launching on Ethereum. You can trust that, hey, 51% attack is not going to happen here. Well, it's actually proof of stake now, so it's different. But hey, we can trust that Ethereum inputs are valid. And there's things like block reorgs that we have that are in the pipeline. So like, sure, but let's just assume a user requests some or puts in a string of data that just says something. It's up to the component author to write the logic for either how to parse that or how to handle that. And in this case, we're thinking about a single operator with this. So a single operator is going to go request some data, returns back, it does something with it, submits it on chain. Where the value of Waves happen is whenever you have multiple operators. So think of this like a Cosmos validator set. You may have 10, you may have 100 plus validators, and they're all running the same bit of software. So all of them see that request in on the Ethereum side. We trust that. There's a lot of economic security behind that. All of those operators are going to pick that up. Let's just say 100 in this example. They all go query that endpoint themselves. Maybe it's different endpoints. Maybe you request a price quote, and they reach out to CoinGecko. They reach out to centralized exchanges. They reach out to Osmosis stacks. They all come back and grab that. They have a rough idea that they're all in line with each other, within a margin of error that the component author gets to decide. And then all of them submit that request back to the chain. So now you've trusted the input. The user has given an input. You roughly trust what the component author has done because that's the application itself. If you don't trust the application, don't use it. Then all of the operators have agreed upon this with that trusted logic because they've all got a roughly the same output. In this case, let's say a token price is $2. They all then submit that to the chain. We trust the chain. And now we've used 100 different operators. The likelihood of collusion is relatively low because you're using restake security through EigenLayer, which is about $6 billion worth, give or take, of TVL there. So now we have a trusted assumption on the input. We have multiple people saying that they do agree on the output, and then they submit that on chain back to where we agree on it. So you're able to use these two security mechanisms to verify, hey, good input, a good return value, we trust that output because of the number there. Now, for something that's more critical like real estate, yeah, you may want 50 plus operators running this, but for something that's like a personal DeFi gambling app that's just for you, you may only need one because you just need to trust yourself in that case, or your friends trust you, so that's fine enough. So depending on the security case, you can either pay more or less for infrastructure, but at the end of the day, it scales really well. As you need more security, we have more verifications there. The likelihood of collusion is extremely low.
Yeah, thank you. That's definitely enlightening and is helping me and others to kind of understand deeper how those systems works. Am I right? Like a little bit more about this. Am I right that at the end this verification step? Is it happening kind of automatically, or is more like intervention of the physical person? I am imagining both cases. Yeah, let me give you one example. Many years ago, I was involved in the project, and they were capturing the games results. So literally, a bunch of people looking at the TV and inputting the results of the game, into into the system. So example of the kind of human-driven validation, yeah, versus some other validations that might happen by verification of different sources. And you mentioned these, that the service could go to CoinGecko, alternatively to other services, and kind of ponderate either the input is correct or not. So we could have those types. What is happening with the kind of single source? Single source, because at the end, like in Greece, I'm coming back to this and trying also to understand if that example was even good, for this case. But at the end, you have only one source of truth. And that source of truth is authority, Greek authority, which is telling you that that's the state of affair. So when you get that info, if info is wrong, so it's coming wrongly from the source. So everything, we are coming to the same stage that we have a wrong data. Now, how these verifiers or other players of the system would verify, since all of them needs to go to the same source?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're only as strong as your weakest link within any idea. So if you only have a single API that you can pull from, for example, like the registry through something like Reece, you can only trust that single source. That's where your limiting thing is. So similar to Ethereum, you have to trust the Ethereum side if you're going to interact through it. You also kind of have to trust this single source. There are ways to mitigate that risk, though, where maybe a person can manually verify something through like a ZK proof that they do indeed own this home. So now not only do you trust the ministry there, but now you also trust the user also put this up. So now you have extra source. So it's up to the developer to decide, is that trust enough? And the people using the application fine with that? And if not, then what other sources do you need to add after the fact that add even more security to that? This is similar to the validator problem, where if you have one operator validator instead of 100, great, there's more security with that. If you only have one source, maybe that's fine enough for most, but hey, a proof of verification, you do indeed live at this home, like you have nil here. How do we add the extra verifications over time where you can further prove that out? And now people can really trust that not only is their system correct, but now you're attesting that their system is correct too. And we can build that up within components. Users can submit that data off-chain, on-chain, however it seems fit based off of privacy. And then now you can use that to further increase a ranking score for, is this data truly valid? We've gone against multiple different sources. Again, we still really trust that one centralized source, but we can trust these other ones as well. So it doesn't fix that, but you can build these other mixes of human-driven verification as well as a source of truth verification. And if you merge those two together, you probably get closer to what you're really looking for if the data is really valuable to have in that case.
Yeah, very much appreciated you feedback. At some point we were thinking that one of the ways of exploring our business was to kind of get data from the real estate agencies. So like a price of the real estate that was published, and the fact that maybe each time the user is actually displaying that page, it kind of it means like a kind of proof of being there. It's like a user is going there, and that human being is actually seeing the price. So that's a value in theory, because if the price should not be wrong, because if price is wrong, is against the interest of the real estate agent. So it doesn't make sense to have like a price wrong, right? So so that type of data grabbing from other places and kind of passing it into some layer which is making implementing these easier might be of big value. So could you explain a little bit like what it means like for someone to use it? Like you mentioned, maybe it is like a 200 lines of code, but what code, like what we are doing in that code? And we could use, the example that I gave, like scrapping pages from the agencies, let's say. So, how this would kind of work and how these data are passed then to the native blockchain. I'm assuming that the project that might be interested, they are maybe running their own blockchain, and they want to pass this information into the blockchain. So then how these, lines of codes in Waves running on Waves connect then and pass the data to the blockchain?
Yeah. So the beauty of what Waves does is we abstract all of the complexities that are like, how do you pass that data between? We handle all of that on our backend. It's just kind of magic. So you'll, at a high level, all you as the developer have to do is write the actual code to grab that data. So this is going to be, you write standard Python code or standard TypeScript code that uses common libraries, like how do I make a request out to an endpoint? How do I parse that JSON out and modify it to my needs? And then you just return that back out of the function. So like you basically write a single function that is going to do some logic, whatever logic you would normally write in like a standard programming language. Like we don't impose any extra requirements on you. You're just writing standard programming language logic. Like it's as if you're running it on your own computer at home. You're going to copy paste that logic over into a Wave specific function, which is like 3 or 4 lines of code that just says, hey, this is a Waves component. Make sure that we're compatible with what we do. You return that data back, and then you submit this up to Waves. And Waves is going to take care of all of the hassle of watching for certain kinds of events. You'll specify in a config, hey, watch this smart contract for this kind of event that is, a send information function. So whenever it sees that function called on that contract, it's going to pick up that request, and now it's going to have the text that the user requested ID 1. All of your standard programming logic runs through this. And then at the end of that function in your code, you just return back what is the result. Wave sees that result, and now it's going to submit that on chain. So we handle all of the coordination for watching for events and handling that, and then grabbing that data into your component. Your component just does your logic. Like, that's all we care for you to focus about is write exactly what your application is. And then we'll handle all the coordination back to the app layer and handling that however you need. So you as the developer really just have to focus on your app. Like there's nothing more that you have to do of how I need to watch for this and do that. No, we handle that for you. You just specify in a config. I want to watch this contract on this chain. I want to then submit it to this chain. So you can submit to different chains. You can watch from different chains. You can watch from multiple sources. You can watch over time. So you can have a cron-based system where every 5 seconds run my code logic. You can watch for a cron, perform some logic, and never submit it to chain. Like it's really flexible, and it depends on what your use case is. So as the developer, you don't have to focus on the infrastructure. Just focus on writing what your specific thing does. Go grab data, pull it back in, process it somehow, return it back. That's all you do. And then everything else Waves handles behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's really, really great. It sounds amazing. I was thinking a little bit to maybe mention something about like a technology stack. As you remember at the beginning, at least my curiosity was like how Wave fit into the entire ecosystem. Yeah, so in Cosmos, I understand that you are chain agnostic, right? Mm-hmm. You are chain agnostic. So really you are looking about providing that service for any chain. Yeah. So like, in Cosmos, we have a Cosmos SDK, we then have a Cosmos, then we have EVMOS, if we want to be compatible with Ethereum virtual machine. So where Wave is in this sense, mm-hmm. In terms of technology?
Yeah, it's super powerful. Like the way that I think of Waves in terms of where it sits in the stack is it kind of sits on the side where you have this Cosmos SDK chain. It can be running FMOS, CosmWasm, a native EVM, like whatever. And we kind of sit here over in this side area watching for certain events that this broadcasts. So as the Cosmos chain broadcasts something, great, it comes over here, we process it. It could be a super long time. Like a request could take upwards of a day if you wanted to. It's up to you in the component. And then we're going to submit that back in. So we call this in technology like a sidecar. We're going to watch for some event, like, hey, we do nothing, like the machine is spun down. As soon as something happens that we're interested in, we spin this up similar to what you would have in like edge compute processing. We're going to do our logic, we're going to submit it back in, and we shut this down. So we only use the compute that we actually need. We support submitting and like watching events from Cosmos SDK chains. You can submit to CosmWasm. You can submit to an EVM chain on Cosmos. I actually built that out in Spawn when I was at Strangelove, which allows you to launch a Cosmos SDK chain with full Evmos like EVM support on here. So like, great, you can submit to that. You can watch from that. You can also submit over to Ethereum on their native EVM. We can support things like SVM on the Solana VM later in the future as well. We can watch from that. It's really up to you to decide where you want with it. So we really sit in this agnostic area in the middle that allows you to be a like hub and then a bunch of spokes being all of those different chains of trust you have. Maybe it's only, you need 10%, or maybe you need 95% of trust assumptions here. The consensus is just going to automatically do that based off of the number of signatures, the number of operators that you have coming into it. So it's up to you to decide, do you want a ton of security or do you want less? And then submitting over there. In the future, we'll have like where you can run blockchains within Waves itself. So maybe you can do some like settlement layer or something like that. Like there's a lot of cool things you could do with it.
I see. So now, it was kind of a enlightening moment for me because I realized that in reality, the kind of trust or consensus is coming from the native chain that is using this service, right? So there is nothing on top required as long as you are trusting your own service and you kind of validation mechanism and consensus. So then you're supposed to trust the data that would get in. Okay, and so how you are positioning, Waves in terms of like a market? Are you going to have like a token? How you one of the typical question is how you kind of add the value, how you acknowledge the value that Wave is kind of building. Eventually, you need to accumulate that around some kind of token or service. So what type of agreements you are going to have, with other projects, and how you are going to market your service?
Yeah, the way that we built Waves was not because we were trying to build another infrastructure project. Like we're not trying to build another Cosmos SDK. We're building it solely for our own internal apps that we want to develop. We, come from Cosmos. We come from the EVM side. We've built plenty of mainnets and apps, and we've continued to see this problem of grabbing this off-chain data, taking far too much time, taking months of work for what seems to be simple solutions that could have been. So we built Waves internally for ourselves, and now we're marketing that more to other developers because we understand the value that it provides for us, for our own internal applications, and things that we've got like 5 or 6 different ideas that like we're going to be doing. So we're doing this purely for, hey, we're building this already. If other people can also get benefit for it, great. We would love to have you, be a part of this. If not, we're perfectly happy just keeping this like, hey, we use this internally. We're going to launch our own things with it. Those will be successful. Some of those may have tokens. Other ones may not. It depends on the specific application base. But then those that we do work with, we'll want to do like revenue shares or something along the lines with them, like a token swap, where, hey, we're going to give you Waves. We're going to spend time with you to help you like walk you through this to allow your team to benefit with that. And then over time, as your protocol grows, we can stream value to you. You can stream value to us. And so we can have shares of this over time through like payment based systems. And we can build all of that out with Waves too. So there's a lot of different ways that we can tweak. We could do consulting with people if we wanted to do that. We can do these like revenue share agreements or token swap agreements or things like that. Or at the end of the day, we can just do it ourselves and build up our applications with that for things that are like very proven within crypto as well as in the traditional finance world. We can build those up using Waves, and now we can launch it like not even needing a token at that point. So there's a lot of different ways we can do it. We may do a mix of all three. We may do more of one. It really just depends on the way that the business goes going forward.
Perfect, Reece. No, very clear for me now, and very much appreciated. Already from the first talk that we had with Ethan, I was under impression that Wave is something that I need to look upon and see, how eventually even the DAODISEO project could utilize. So I definitely I am reinforcing now that message, more I am talking to you, more convinced I am that there is a kind of value there that could be unlocked. Yeah, so very, very positive feedback from my end. And if you allow me at some point, maybe I will ping you, offline to kind of see what is possible. Great. I when I was doing my kind of homework before this meeting, I was screening a little bit your website, and of course trying also to understand how the system works. I kind of faced this chart. Would you be so kind of walk us through?
Yes.
And explain?
This is very technical. Yeah, this is a very technical chart for developers. I don't like it because of how it's very overwhelming seeing all this. So I agree. Like we should definitely have a simpler chart with this to just like, hey, here's like the basics. So if we look on the left side, we have this service manifest. What is this? This is just a simple config. Like we're going to specify some config that says, watch this chain for this contract and this kind of event. So at the end of the day, think, watch a chain, watch an event. Maybe that's a chain, maybe that's some other service. Do something like here's the rough schema idea for what we want. That's then going to pass into the logic specifically. Maybe that's a cron, which is, hey, run every 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 5 hours, something along those lines that you can specify. Or as the most common use case, watch for an event that happens on chain. The user interacted with this smart contract. This doesn't even have to be a contract you own. This could be like a Uniswap pool that someone interacts with. You can watch for that event. You don't have to own it. Just something happened and you want to keep up with that. Think of ways similar to like an indexer. Like, great, we can follow events like that. Or, hey, every block, do something along these lines. Then that gets pulled into the Waves engine. This is the Waves runtime. This is going to run all of your component logic. This is any code that you wrote that is custom goes in here. And this is run by each operator. So think of this like a Cosmos SDK chain. Each one of them run their own set of values. Great. This is the same case. You're going to write your logic, but the difference is instead of it being a single chain, anyone can spin up one of these operator sets, one of these components to run. So now you're able to run something similar to like you would on a Vercel or on a Cloudflare worker, where I have some logic I want to run. I give this over to someone. They're going to then run that for me whenever those events happen. And that's the case. That'll then get submitted back to the chain. But that's entirely based off of your config logic. So on the left, where are we watching? In the middle, here's the engine. We're going to execute that logic. Then we're going to submit that over, and then we're going to either save that to chain or do something with it. So it's a real simple flow. This is just a breakdown of all of those steps and how these things play together for developers that are building on top of this.
Perfect. And please forgive me, my ignorance yet, and if my question will be stupid, but the operators. So who will be those operators? We have several operators. So I am assuming now, and correct me if I am wrong, that the chain that is using this service, the chain validators are becoming operators.
So they can be operators. Operators are up to your application. So think of this as Cosmos validators. Like you have one set that are these people, but then you can have either subsets of those operators run your specific service. You can be an operator, as someone like is just slightly technical. Great, you can go run one of these operators. You can work with the Polkachus of this world as well to run something where maybe they're not even a validator on the chain. They can run an operator specific to your application. Because we're not on the main chain, which is over here, we're kind of this offset, we can build up the security assumptions we want. That could be running everyone that's on the chain needs to run this. That could be a Polkachu runs this with a Chorus One and others. Or it can just be yourself as a hobby dev. I want to build that out. So it's really up to you to decide what kind of security assumptions that you want to build into this. And an operator can really be anyone that is slightly technical, even maybe not even the most slightly technical. We would like to make it where you could run this stuff in your browser, where you can just say, hey, launch this, fund it with some USDC, and you're good to go, or like something like an Akash. So there's ways that we can build this where anyone could be an operator. And then at that point, it gets into interesting areas of maybe your phone becomes an operator. What kind of mesh networks can we build out using people that are non-technical, being able to opt into these services to verify them because they do indeed use the apps.
Yeah, amazing. And indeed, I think I'm kind of grasping the idea. I will give you an example in our own case. You know, I was kind of finding this on my own way as well. But it seems that in our own infrastructure, we will have two types of validators. One group is like ordinary validators, what they do, you know, typically. But the other group of validators will need to run also something that we call Beam server. And Beam server is basically kind of building information model database that needs to be synchronized as well. So certainly there is this concept that maybe not all validators are running kind of the same. Maybe all of them are running a node, some of them are running Beam service, and some of them are running Oracle service, in this case, kind of wave operator service, correct? As it feeds into the kind of business needs.
Exactly. They can mix and match where do they want to run. Do they want to be running everything? They can. If they only want to run a subset of that, they also can. So it's up to operators to decide where's their competency, you know, from a funding perspective, who needs to run what, where are you better at? You're able to decide this. And even if you don't even have a validator set, great, you can build on top of Ethereum. There's already a set there. You can use that Reece security with that. And now you're able to build up where you can have a specific set of these operators that you trust to run it. So it's really up to you to decide how do you want your application configured and what makes sense best for your users, as well as the security of like the TVL that you have underlying.
Perfect. Look, I think it's a time to maybe ask a community and ask people if there is kind of anything that came today ahead in terms of questions or something that they would like to ask. So I was just screening now the general channel. I don't see anything popping up.
I have a question.
Anyone? Perfect.
Hey Reece, just tell me please which programming languages are now supported in Waves?
Yeah, so we have support for Rust, Golang, TypeScript, JavaScript, as well as Python is on the way. That Python support will also include things like NumPy and like PyTorch, like you'll be able to run standard machine learning models. Then we can add, upon request, support for C, C++, and C# as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions?
Yes.
How we trust these operators? Yeah, I see the question. So I guess the question is how we are going to trust the operators. And let me try to read that. Okay, it disappeared. So I think no question for the moment. I guess how we trust the operators is like coming back to the same original question, how we are going to trust the validators of the blockchain, right? So like how much trust the blockchain itself and the project itself is able to actually generate there. Yeah.
Yeah, as we have these operators, it's up to the application developer to decide who do they want. You know, how can you trust them? Ideally, you get name brand people, but these operators are also similar to Cosmos validators are going to have stake that is up there. In the event they act malicious, they will be slashed. So there's a whole slashing mechanism similar to standard Cosmos. You could also build it out where, hey, there's no slashing. So it depends on what your application is, but they have financial incentive to do right by the community. If they don't, they will lose funds out and in terms of that, as well as their delegators. So it's the same concept as what all proof of stake-based networks are. We're just doing that outside of the chain on this like sidechain process for specific TVL.
I see, Reece. You know, just maybe kind of additional comment, if I, and by the way, I'm saying something that is not correct, please correct me immediately. You know, obviously, whatever project is running a chain, you have this responsibility, which is tied to you know, to the monitoring of the chain. So you have these explorers, right? Like a ping pub or whatever explorer is. You go to the chain, you review the validators, you see what is going on, like people are jailed, unjailed, there is slashing, all that. So are you suggesting that when we use this service, we need to have a kind of, let me call it error handling? You know, like something like some kind of monitoring is required, similar to the monitoring of the validation process itself. Am I right?
Yes, yeah, we do have monitoring. We have Prometheus, we have Jaeger support as well for tracing. So we're going to have plenty of metrics for validators to plug into, similar to what they would do with any other program. The benefit, though, of Waves is that you just run one Waves instance, and you can run all of these different components and configurations for multiple different people. I think right now the kind of limit is we can do about 1 million transactions per second of throughput per component, and then we can run about 10,000 components. So in terms of scaling, we have plenty of work that can be pushed through one of these Waves instances. They're super lightweight as well. So this doesn't require a full machine like it does in Cosmos of like 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes of RAM and like all this stuff. We can run it with a fraction of a CPU with less than 1 gigabyte of RAM, which for reference, like most phones have like 4 to 6 gigabytes today at minimum. So like a fraction of what your phone even has is required, and like 10 gigabytes of storage, which is like maybe one-fourth of like a 4K video, like movie. So like 20 minutes of a 4K movie, like a relatively small size amount of requirement for these services. Now, depending on specific services, like for an AI workflow, yeah, it's going to require beefier hardware. But from a low-level perspective, these can run on very lightweight machines. And so if you wanted to run multiple of them, you're going to have no problem finding hosting for like $5 a month, if not even less, for most of these cases, because of how many you could run on the machine, because of how lightweight they are. So like that's not a problem relative to this, and you'll be just fine.
I have another one question. Do you see Waves becoming a standard interface for blockchain AI interaction?
We are looking at how Waves can actually be more of an interaction interface, because there's a lot of good user experience benefits that we can have for this. So like if we have multiple different applications, what does it look like if you can have instant composability between these apps that are built on top of Waves without having to deal with the gas fees and stuff? So there are definitely benefits that we're looking at for how to interact through Waves, much like what you would with a wallet. We want to give the same experience that you would have through like a centralized exchange with using applications. And Waves actually makes that possible. This was not possible before Waves came into existence.
Thank you. And the last one question. Okay, if you were launching a new startup in the Cosmos ecosystem, what would you build using Waves and AVS?
The most interesting thing, number one, for Cosmos is definitely still AI oracles, or like prediction markets and just generalized oracles, not even AI related things. I think prediction markets would be super interesting to do because there's a lot of benefits that you can get with Cosmos that you can't do with like UMA over in Polkadot with Polymarket. So I think if you're going to do something and you think you can really make a big splash, prediction markets like hyperstition like level markets on Cosmos would be very interesting. In doing new things with DeFi, not for DeFi's sake, but like payment rails would be very interesting, because you can do some really interesting stuff with Waves on top of that. So I think trying to figure out how to do payment flows over a graph based off of attestations would be a really interesting thing.
Thank you, Reece. Okay.
Absolutely.
And I have also a question about how community can be involved. And if community members are not developers and not validators, node operators, can they find their place in Waves? Do you have any maybe ambassador campaign, or in other words, what Waves is needed on the stage of development right now, and which issues you need to close, and maybe somebody can help you?
Yeah, right now from the technical side, we're working on getting ready for mainnet. So launching on mainnet Ethereum, giving this to developers. Here's version 1, we're ready to go. So we're currently on testnet. We're really excited about that. We've been on testnet now for about 2 or 3 months. And so now we're gearing up for mainnet. There's a couple like minor things we need to tweak up, but for the most part, it's there. From a non-technical perspective, we're working on a KPI-based incentive model where we'll have bounties out for work that is maybe not directly developer related, but it could be related to marketing or related to some videos or sharing information about like writing documentation. Doing this sort of work that is not directly developer related, we're going to have like bounties and systems out for this, so that way not only can you be incentivized for doing it, but you can also continue to help out Waves and begin to integrate more with the product and understanding of that. And that'll be great for both individual community members as well as application developers that want to dip their toe in. Hey, they're interested. There's now some financial incentive for you to also come in as well. So we'll pay you to learn the system, pay you to help us out, and then, hey, maybe that down the line that becomes a full-time role at Waves, or it goes to you're building your own product. You do something like that revenue share with Waves where, hey, we swap you some of our token, you swap us some of yours, something along those lines as well. So there's really a big way that we can build a mesh of incentive alignment around different individuals, not just developers.
Amazing, amazing. We will spread this information among the community and validators and the other developers, and we are so interested in the future of the Waves.
Absolutely. Waves is absolutely great.
Yes, and that's actually put us on the clock, 6 p.m. CET now, so we consume an hour, and that is a kind of typically a time that we spend. Reece, thank you so much for everything that you did today. It was very, very enlightening for me, so I learned a lot. Thank you. Very likely I will try to connect you, kind of offline. I will try to do my homework and reading more about Waves, what we could do in our own project as well. And before we close, any final comments?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. This is really great. Any developers or anyone that is interested in Waves, maybe you just need one-on-one, you have more questions, you have worries, you have concerns, you have ideas of things that you want to build, or you have projects that you think maybe are better than Waves and you want to discuss that with me, more than happy to take the time with calls. Reach out to me. I'm happy to spend one-on-one time with both individuals themselves or with teams that are maybe interested. Maybe it doesn't work out for you. We're not going to try to force your throat. We're happy to work with you. And if there's a better product for you and I know about it, I'm happy to recommend that to you if it just doesn't work out. So reach out to me. I'm happy for anyone building in the crypto industry, or even if you're not, where we can fit Waves in with you.
Great, Reece. Great, really. Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice day and enjoy.
You guys as well. Thank you.
Thank you.